Well, hello, it's Paul from ESPC, and welcome to ESPC's Digest for August 2024. And with me today, special guest, long-time colleague of mine. We've worked together a long time, haven't we, Leanna? But I think this is the first time we've done something like this together.
It absolutely is. I'm normally on the other side of the camera, not around doing the front side. But yeah, no, 17 years, Paul. 17 years of working together.
Yeah, we haven't changed a bit, so there you go.
Not in the slightest.
So in terms of what we're going to cover today, we're going to have a little look and see what the property market did in July. And it was quite an interesting month, actually, and we will come to that. And then one of the key reasons we have Leanne on is going to be our school catchment area expert. We're going to have a talk about school catchment areas. It's sort of quite, I think it's relevant right now because, you know, children are about to go back to school. There's a lot of debate about VAT being imposed on school fees, and I know you've got some insight into that, Leanne, so we'll come to that, and then we'll look at the link between catchment areas and selling prices. So yeah, it's should be a good show.
Absolutely excited.
Okay, so let's dive into the first part then. Let's have a little look. So we're going to have a look at the house price report for the period May to July, so covering the summer months. And on the last episode of the Digest, I was chatting to, again, another colleague of ours, Kimberly, about will we see seasonality in the market? Have we seen seasonality? You know, does the market almost have a real lull over summer? And I think to summarise, we saw a couple of quiet weeks in June, but that was it, because we got into July and things really started to hot up again. There's absolutely no question. And really what we saw a good level of listings. So listings were up 9.2% on last year, and sales, phenomenal, 22% up. Wow, that's a lot of sales. That's a lot of busy ESPC solicitor estate agents there. So what does that mean for sellers? Well, I think it means there's choice out there because there's plenty of listings coming on, and there's a confidence I think that sellers can have that ultimately they're going to be able to sell the property. And I know in a moment we're going to talk about values and we're going to talk about speed of sale, but I think certainly as a seller, Leanne, the take-home message would be you are going to be able to sell, and there's a high probability you'll find something that you like out there.
Yeah, I think so as well, Paul. I think it's a nice, clear stage that we're sitting at in the market for this, but things are going well, which is nice.
Absolutely. And when we were putting the house price report together, we did use the word stable, but I think when you take that word stable, you think things are pretty stable, not much have changed from last year. Well, in some ways, things are stable, because if we have a look at the next slide, we look at the house price. This is the average sales value. It's sitting at £284,624. That's actually up just £500 on last year. So what we're seeing is prices sort of stable. So we're not seeing this ever-increasing rise in prices that we were seeing in sales prices. But as we say, when we look at general activity and other things, even speed of sale, which is the next slide, if we can just push on to that, pretty brisk, to say the least, 21 days. And if you're in Dunfermline, 9 days.
9 days.
Literally 9 days. Yeah,
crazy, isn't it?
Crazy. It really is. So, you know, you could put your board up, go on holiday, come back after 10 days, and, you know, there's your buyer ready and waiting for you. So, yeah, and we know Dunfermline's always been a bit of a hotspot for ESPC in recent times. And also Haddington, which is a bit of a surprise, got to say.
Yeah, it's a bit of a change having that in there, but yeah, nice to see.
Yeah, not an area that we've mentioned in recent times in terms of sale, you know, speed of sales, but great, yeah, as you say, good to see. And then obviously Fairmile Head. So, but I think the take-home message there is properties are, you know, coming to the market, and the market remains brisk. And it's not as if sellers are having to really take a lot lower. We're still seeing a premium. It's sitting at 102.4%. So a smidge up on, you know, on where it was, and I think, as I say, it's healthy. Certainly for first-time buyers, and we say this every time, you're not having 5 or 10% extra to ultimately secure that property. So, as I say, so when we think about stability, it's more in the average sales price, and it's more in the fact that the premiums are sort of slightly becalmed. I think everything else is pretty brisk out there, to be honest, and we'll see what the rest of the year has in store for us. But and you know, I like to have a good old look at the ESPC stats, Leanne, and then I always verify them with you. viewing requests, which is a bit of a barometer about what might be coming down the tracks. Versus last year, we're up 16.6% in July, and that's maybe why we're seeing good sales in August. And again, in August already, viewing requests are up 4% year on year. So a lot of buyers out there, a lot of buyers looking at property, and we know once you've looked, generally you're about to offer, and then ultimately we have those sales that are secured. So yeah, overall, I think that, and with the interest rate cut that we've had recently announced, I think the market's in pretty good shape. So there you go. That's the house price report. Now, the second part of this, as I say, we're going to talk about school catchment areas and property prices. Children going back to school this week. That's the day that always weighs heavy on you. Do you remember being when you were off school and you used to think back, oh, I didn't do all the things I was going to do over summer, and suddenly you're back and you've got your new school uniform on. Anyway, without further ado, Leanne, you're going to talk to us a little more about all this, aren't you?
Absolutely. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think my kids have definitely got a lot of summer holiday regret at the moment going back into school today. And I suppose it makes it particularly topical with the kids going back today to be looking at school catchments. Registration for primary one children happens around November time. So that's often the time that parents want to be in a new home. So now's the ideal time to be looking and getting that move and having everything happening. There's obviously some leeway that way within the councils for if you move after that date. But yeah, this is like a prime time, if you like, for parents to be searching for that next family home as well. If you're moving into a new school catchment with children already in the school, you want to be getting, knowing where they're moving to and getting them on the waiting list for the places in those schools. So yeah, it's really topical at the moment. And as you sort of mentioned there as well, what makes it particularly topical this year is the planned introduction of a 20% VAT tax on private school fees from January. So around 4% of Scottish pupils attend private school. And that's Scotland-wide. It obviously varies quite a lot across the different regions of the country. And in Edinburgh, it's about 25 to 30% of children are privately educated. So that additional VAT top-up on top of the school fees will see some children relying on council-run services instead. At the moment, the industry are talking about a 13% shrinkage in the sector, which will affect around 1,000 children, so likely to come back into the state school system. So it's quite clear that Edinburgh is likely to feel a pinch there. We've got 10 different independent schools compared to sort of 2 in East Lothian or 1 in Fife, and 1 in the Scottish Borders. So yeah, there'll definitely be some changes happening within the market, I would imagine, and people really keen to try and get their kids into those state schools that they most want to.
Popular feature on the ESPC, isn't it? School catchment areas, Leanne.
It is. We're really lucky on ESPC that we've got an actual school catchment search. We don't just list the nearest schools. We've got a real search, so you can pick the school that you want to go to or your children to go to, and you can search specifically for properties within that school catchment, which is a really unique feature. And as a parent myself, it's a fantastic feature that I've used. As well, that you're very specific about where you want your children to go. So yeah, it's a really important feature, I think. So what we wanted to do then was just to take a bit of a look at what the average selling price is in some of the top performing schools. When we say top performing, we're using the Sunday Times and the Times Secondary School Ranking League tables here. Obviously, there's a variety of different league tables out there, but these are the ones that we're using for this. So Boroughmuir High School has come out first in Edinburgh. And I think it really starts to show the variety of prices that you get across Edinburgh and the different properties in the different catchment areas. So within the Boroughmuir catchment, we're looking at about a £358,000 property selling price, which it's actually 5% lower than this time last year, but that's most likely just due to the individual properties selling and across that wide catchment area rather than actually a fluctuation in the individual property prices. The second highest ranked in Edinburgh was the Royal High School, and that was at a £320,000 average selling price. And then in third place this year, we had Firhill with an average selling price of £340,000, which on the flip of Birmingham was a 5% increase in the average selling price. What's interesting is that the average selling price in Edinburgh itself is 302,863. So you can instantly see that premium starting to be paid on those higher performing school catchment areas. You know, you're already up at 320, 360,000.
Yeah. And we do know it is a reason why people move, isn't it? I mean, I think there's been many a survey done over the years where it's one of the key drivers for, you know, if you're not downsizing or upsizing because of your family, you're probably moving because of a school catchment area, aren't you, Leanne?
Absolutely. I mean, it's so important for most parents to get your children into the right school for them. And yeah, such an important factor for parents. Yeah. The other point that I want you just to talk through though is, of course, that I was looking there at the average selling price across the area, but actually most families are going to live in a house, or desire to live in a house. You want to have that garden, you want to have that bit of extra space, and the impact on the property price and the sales there is much more extreme. So, you know, looking at our top three ranking high schools again, we can really see the difference there in the house prices. So for Birmingham, a house, the average selling price was 607,110, which, you know, is a massive jump up from where it was on the average property. You've got a really big catchment area there. The Birmingham is based in Fountain Bridge itself, but it encompasses sort of Morningside, Brunsfield, Morningside, Comiston. So there's a big pool of children coming in there. And then our third place, we've got Firhill, which runs from again, really varied, Craig Lockhart through to Oxgangs. So an average house price there of 457,580. So these are big step ups, I would say, that these additional premiums that family homeowners are really often stretching to at the moment. And those schools that are maybe ranking not as high up the table, you know, we've got Castlebrae that comes in much lower on the tables in our top three, is sitting at about 314,825 for a house. So there's we're instantly seeing that massive big jump there in the different property prices. What we would stress though is that within those areas, the catchment areas are really large. So you want to be going along and speaking to your solicitor estate agent to find out the hotspots within the areas for those catchments that you can afford, with what's going to work best for your budget, because we expect you can make most things work within these budgets.
There's going to be areas within areas, isn't it? As there is always with a city like Edinburgh, where there's going to be little pockets where you're going to be able to find that little gem of a property at the right price.
Absolutely. And I suppose just carrying on from that theme is, you know, we've got the Royal High. It's one of the schools we mentioned there. It's our second place in Edinburgh with an average house selling price there of 396,344. But that borders 4 other high school catchment areas. And as we can see with these figures here, you know, those vary massively for what those selling prices are. We've got Craigmount at the top there at 423,000 with a gigantic catchment area that spans a lot of Edinburgh and loads of different areas. And then, you know, somewhere much smaller like Craig Royston, where we're looking at 297,450 for different house price there. So really it's just stressing on that there is definitely a link, I think, between the catchment areas and the school performance and how much you're going to have to pay for a property within that. So it does pay to do quite a bit of research beforehand on what the schools are and what's the best option for you. But yeah, there's definitely options out there for different families. But of course, it's not just Edinburgh, really, is it? It's you know, there's a vast variety of different education options outside Edinburgh and in the other areas that we cover as ESPC. East Lothian's a really interesting example of where those big swings in house prices can be really variable depending on the school catchments. So their highest ranking high school was North Berwick High School, where the school catchment was 479,248. And the second was Knox Academy in Haddington, where the average selling price was 282,276. So you're instantly looking at a £200,000 difference on the property selling prices there. Things are sitting much more even in across Midlothian, whilst Dalkeith is the highest ranked high school in Midlothian, the selling price across the area was much similar. And good old Dunfermline, where Woodmill High School is you know, a much more affordable 235,583 there, which is up a massive 16% year on year for the average sales volume, the average sales value. So, you know, there's a real popularity within that area. So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, that's just a quick summary of what does happen within the schools. I think it, you know, it can be hard as a parent to commit to making that move and where you're going to with the new school, but there is definitely a lot of consideration to be taken into account for those different school catchment areas and trying to find the right one for you.
Yeah, as you say, I think question of do your research not only on the school but also on the price you pay to be in that catchment area. Yeah, that's fascinating. That's a great piece of work, Leanne. I know we were talking about it last week, but very detailed. Well
done. Thanks.
Okay, so just as we finish off there, thank you, Leanne, for that piece. We just wanted to remind everyone that's watching or listening to this that you can find more information on espc.com. Mainly under the news section, you'll find all our reports, including the house price report that I touched upon earlier, news on the bank interest rate cut. But yeah, you can also play around and do your search via school catchment areas as well on the site. But yeah, lots of information on espc.com. We hope that you found that of interest today. We'd like to thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or you'd like us to address any particular topic, you can contact us via the marketing inbox, or you'll find us on LinkedIn. Walk into the Property Information Centre and leave a message, and always glad to hear from you all.
So just actually, remember the magazine's out this week and we've got a really nice school catchment feature in that as well this month. So yeah, there's more information in the magazine as well if you want to head along to your local solicitor estate agents and pick that up.
And it's a bumper edition for property. I think it's our best ever listings in there, isn't it? We've got a lot of good looking properties in there this month.
Yeah, it's a fantastic issue, so don't miss picking it up.
Well worth a read, as they say. Okay, well, listen, thanks everyone for watching today, for listening, and for being part of the digest. And thank you to Leanne, and as ever, thanks to Megan for being the talent behind the camera and behind the editing of this to make it all smooth and seamless and makes it look like we never paused. Anyway, at any point during this, so thanks again. And yeah, we will catch you all soon. Great to see you. Take care. Bye-bye.